The Red Stain, also known as the Communist Party from World War II, often seen as the lesser bad compared to the Nazi Party, was headed by Joseph Stalin. So for this speech, we'll be covering Stalin's rise to power, the famines that happened under his reign, and his kind of historical impact he had. So to start with his rise, he was a predecessor to Vladimir Lenin, who died in 1924, which Stalin took control after being the general secretary of the Communist Party. But before he was the dictator, he was part of a collective that ran the country. As the dictator of the Soviet Union, he led anti-fascist movements, and with that, he also had a non-aggression pact with Nazi Germany. Of course, later on in 1941, the Nazi Party broke that non-aggression pact and invaded the motherland, in which the Soviet Red Army repelled it. Stalin and Vladimir Lenin both led with Marxism, which is a political and economic theory by Karl Marx. Under Lenin's reign, it was called Leninism, and under Stalin's reign, it was referred to as Stalinism, which many in the country did not like under his reign. So, as mentioned, he had several famines under his rule. Now many don't believe or do believe that these were purposeful population control. Over Stalin's reign, more than 5 million people died of famines alone, and even more were killed due to his fear of them taking over from his role. He was very, scared of other people. If you had a higher IQ than him, he would actually send you to a gulag where you would die. So over his reign, he killed over more than 5-6 million people from Soviet Union. Stalin also believed in a two-class system. He believed in the elite class and a working class. That mostly is due to the communist beliefs of having those two classes, but he also heavily pushed that because it mostly benefited him. He was not known to be a great leader because of the multiple famines and his entire political process he had. During the period called the Terror, Stalin would replace older members of the party around him with newer, younger members that only knew his reign. This made all these newer people very loyal to him, which caused a problem for anyone that did not like Stalin, which many people did not, because one of the bloodiest battles of World War II was Stalingrad, and he was not willing to lose that to the Nazis. The reason he wasn't, because his name was on it, and he didn't want them in his country, but the main point was he didn't want them in a place with his name on it. So he made every soldier go there, fight tooth and nail. Now, the joke around Stalingrad was there was one gun for every 5 Russians there. So he was just sending people in to not lose Stalingrad. And that is kind of why the Terror got its name. And even after Stalin's death in 1953, his predecessor immediately started de-Stalinization of the Soviet Union. That's how much they hated him. That as soon as he was announced dead and no longer in rule, they immediately tried undoing his Stalinization. He was not well liked amongst his people because he was a very cruel leader. And how he died was a heart attack. And the reason he wasn't saved due to his heart attack, even though he was in his room that was guarded, was because he told them, if you come into my room without my permission, you will be killed by him. So the 2 guards heard him fall to the ground, and they just stood there not entering because they were scared of what he'd do. Ta-da! That's all I have. It's really short.